Well, hello there, my studio teacher friends. Welcome to the Beyond Measure podcast. This is your place for a weekly shout out of music teacher solidarity. Christina Whitlock here, your host and anytime piano teacher friend, welcoming you today as we talk about what to do with those busy high school seniors. Of course, there's plenty of carryover here to other overscheduled students, so I hope you'll stick around even if you don't teach any high school seniors at the moment. I want to give a quick thanks to my super friends over on Patreon because they really are the life force behind this show. As a thank you for their support over there, we meet once a month for something I call Teachers Teaching Teachers, and our next session will be coming up on Friday, February 27th. This month, we're going to take a break from talking about specific repertoire, and we're going to talk all about scales. Oh yeah. Specifically, we're talking about alternative ways to practice scales and how I keep my students engaged with their scale practice. So, if you've ever been curious about how to diversify your scale instruction, I've got your back on February 27th. Simply join the Super Friends on Patreon for $6 and you will be invited to the live discussion and have access to the replay. Head to ChristinaWhitlock.com/superfriends and you'll find all the details there. And now, let's get on with the show, friends. You are listening to episode 248 of the Beyond Measure podcast. So many of us know the pains of teaching students through their senior years of high school. It's easy to plan the biggest and the best year yet, and then end up disappointed when students fail to meet those ambitious goals. We think this is our chance to accomplish all the big things, and students often feel the same way. But the commitments of senior year seem to multiply by the minute, and it's easy for the average piano student to find less and less time for time at the piano. That said, some students do rise to the occasion, so I'm not suggesting you write your seniors off as too busy to do anything either. I just wanted to offer a moment of solidarity today for those of us who find ourselves teaching seniors who may not be living up to those big goals that we set back in September. Before I go further, I want to refer back to a few older episodes of this show. So, two of the most downloaded episodes I've ever released are called My Practice Manifesto, also followed by Navigating a Lesson When Your Student Hasn't Practiced. Those are episodes 51 and 52. I also have an episode from 2023 called The Forgotten Step in Teaching Teens. I think all three of those episodes are relevant to today's topic. So if you are looking for more ideas after today, I would check out episodes 51, 52, and 148. Those are all linked in the show notes for today, and those can be found at ChristinaWhitlock.com/episode 248. So I've been teaching for 30 years now. But because I moved a few times between high school, undergrad, and graduate school, it took me a while to reach the point in my career where I was teaching students from early elementary years through their senior year of high school. Now, I remember my first two longtime graduates like it was yesterday. I had one darling girl who was my first student when I moved to Indiana. She was assigned to me for pedagogy class when she was in first grade, and she continued with me until she graduated and moved out of state for college. She came from a musical family, she was very driven, very committed, and she did continue to perform well through her senior year. She placed in several competitions that year. She put on a lovely senior recital. I mean, that was all great. It's kind of the best that we can envision for our students, right? Now, that same year, I had another senior who I had been teaching for almost as long as the first. He was always a fun and very personable student. He was definitely more casual in his approach to the piano, but he was still a skilled player and a hard worker. Now, by the beginning of his senior year, it was clear to me that he was not going to be putting in much practice time that final year. And I remember being really conflicted. Should I just cut him loose? Was I taking his parents' money for nothing? Was there any point in continuing to have lessons that year? Spoiler alert, we did continue for the rest of his senior year and on through the summer before he started college. I will tell you this, by the time we got to his graduation, I had no more doubts about whether or not our lessons were justified. It was absolutely the right call to continue lessons. And I will say, I think that is almost always the case. Here's the thing about senior year. There's all kinds of sentimentality about it. And by the time you get to the end of that year, you want piano study to be there, to be a part of that. I think there is something incredibly special about being part of that final celebration and part of the reflections of what that student has accomplished thus far in life. I think if we want to help solidify music study as a core part of who these people are, that there's something important about remaining in the mix for those kinds of milestones like graduation. Now, of course, we don't always have control over whether or not they stay with us. Sometimes they decide their time is done, and there's nothing we can do about that. But assuming the students are still committed to showing up, I think there are lots of things we can do with these busy seniors, regardless of their practice time. Just this last week, I had a senior show up for her lesson and she had forgotten her books. Now, I have all kinds of things I do with students when they don't have their books, but I had sort of a light bulb moment with her and I thought I would share it with you. So this is a student who I've had for a long time. She's a good sight reader and a lovely pianist. She's not one for whom piano has ever been her highest priority, so we've always progressed at the pace that fits her life. In other words, she's not playing monster repertoire, but what she does play, she plays very well. I have been hyper aware with her this year that I am preparing to send her off into her big adult life, and as with all my seniors, I keep asking myself, what do I want her to know? I think this is especially true of our graduating seniors who don't have plans to study music in college. In the end, what do I want her to have to show for her years and years of study with me? When she showed up this past week without her books, I randomly decided to teach her the A section of Für Elise. Like many of our students, she's very capable of playing the A section, but she's not quite ready for the demands of the B section, so we've never studied it. And yet, when someone has taken 12 years of piano lessons, it just seems like they probably should have at least some familiarity with the theme of Für Elise, right? So it got me thinking, What other famous themes would come in handy for our students to learn? When I started thinking about it, I realized that most of the top hits of the piano literature start off with themes that are more accessible and then evolve into things that are more complex. If you look at Fiorelise or Rondo alla Turca or Moonlight Sonata, Clair de Lune, all the most requested pieces in the literature, the most recognizable themes are actually relatively simple. There are some exceptions, of course. I'm thinking especially like the Joplin rags, like Maple Leaf Rag and The Entertainer. Those are pretty complex. But at the same time, there are plenty of arrangements out there that are going to simplify the bass line and take the octaves out of the right hand, so they could be more accessible too. I just think this is a perspective worth considering as piano teachers. So here's what I'm proposing. If you have a senior who is crawling their way through their assigned repertoire, there is no need to beat them over the head with guilt for their entire lesson. Instead, consider planning to take 10 minutes of every lesson and study a small snippet of a popular theme for the piano. There is so much music to choose from. My super friends over on Patreon have heard me rant about this multiple times in Teachers Teaching Teachers, but I will bring this question to you now. Why are we, as piano teachers, so avoidant of learning excerpts? Other instrumentalists spend a lot of time learning excerpts. That's often what they're asked to play for auditions, so they often focus on key moments of orchestral repertoire and then assume they'll learn the rest when the occasion presents itself. Many piano teachers, myself included, often avoid teaching certain pieces because they contain sections that are too difficult for our students. Now, I'll admit, I'm still not keen on having students present only one section of a piece for a public performance, but we study all kinds of repertoire in lessons that never make their way to the concert stage. So why aren't we okay with teaching excerpts for everyday exploration? Anyway, that should probably be its own episode. But today, I want to suggest you think about this the next time you are struggling with a senior or a busy teen in general who isn't logging the practice time that you're hoping for. Assuming these students have built up a basic fluency at the instrument, I think there are a lot of choices you could look into. Of course, these themes don't even have to be classical. You could have them look at Clocks by Coldplay, or River Flows in You by Iruma, or Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. When I was in undergrad, my professor required us to memorize the chord progressions in the C major prelude from Book 1 of Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier. And that was a really useful exercise. It was a great way to study how harmonies move through tonic-dominant relationships. And, of course, that's an easy, crowd-pleasing piece that can really pay off to be able to play in a pinch. I happen to think that would be a great study with your seniors as well. I shared some advice with my senior this last week, and we got quite a kick out of it. I once heard master teacher John Perry say, "Never underestimate the power of the phrase, and so on." Meaning, if you can play the opening few bars of a piece, you can often get away with playing those and then say, "and so on." It's funny, but it's true, because we all know 21st century attention spans are short. And most of the time, when someone says they want you to play them something, they are not actually signing themselves up to listen to like a full 3-minute piece. I think a few bars of Beethoven are often enough to appease that request, and then you can borrow Perry's phrase and say, and so on. For the record, I don't think this is a good thing, it's just true. By all means, play your 3-minute repertoire when given the opportunity because the world needs more good music in it. Okay, friends, my original goal today was to give you several things you could do with busy high school seniors, but I got a little carried away on this one idea. So, how about this? Next week, I will share a few more ideas of things you can do with your busy teens. Sound like a plan? In the meantime, I hope you will consider how we can help our students graduate our studios feeling like they have had exposure to all the pieces one would expect after years of study. And while I have your brain spinning with that one, allow me to offer you a toast. Studio music teacher friends from all around the globe, today we remind ourselves that a successful lesson does not have to hinge on how much a student has practiced that week. As our students get older and begin to think about life beyond their high school years, may we be ever aware of what we want them to take away from our instruction. May they never encounter a moment where they think, wow, 12 years of piano study and I never played Beethoven? Boo, what a travesty. Cheers to you, my friends. Hear, hear. All right, as I'm talking, I am realizing that I have even more episodes that I would like to share with you in today's show notes. I have a few episodes about seniors specifically. I don't know, apparently after 248 episodes, I have said a lot of stuff, friends. Be sure to check out christinawhitlock.com/episode 248 for all the details on those episodes, as well as the ones I mentioned earlier today. Don't forget about February's Teachers Teaching Teachers, which is all about scales and alternative ways to practice them with your students. I'm excited about that one if you can't tell, so I hope you'll join us. Once again, christinawhitlock.com/episode 248 will give you all the info. Thanks so much, my friends. Onward and upward as we head into another week.